last month, you may remember that my sons came on and they acted out a little scenario with a conflict and then a conflict resolution kind of conversation. And so there were some takeaways that we had last month. And I asked you some tools of how we can make sure when we're having a conflict, things in our conversation that's really important. And a few things that you mentioned was our tone of voice. Like if we're trying to keep the conversation, we need to resolve something, there's a conflict, but our tone of voice matters. And so if we can keep all our crazy in check, and we can keep that self-control to keep our tone peaceful, it allows the conversation, it helps the conversation not escalate. The other thing is eye contact. How if we're looking at each other while we're having this conversation, instead of getting mad and looking all around and whatever, it allows this conversation to work its way through so that we can resolve the conflict. So there were a few take-homes that I just want to remind us of from last time, and then we'll go to the next segment. So the first one, when we're having a discussion over something we disagree on, whether it's a little conflict or a big conflict, the first one is that you speak for yourself. Often in conversations, we're like, I know you think this, or I know that. And it's like, no, you don't know what's in someone's brain, or maybe you do know, but by assuming it, you immediately start the track of to not be resolved and to escalate. So it's important that you only speak for yourself and not for the other person. So when we're trying to resolve this, we're gonna put this over here. Number one is speak for yourself. Number two, keep your points brief. Sometimes we start monologuing and we go on and on and on, and we add more offenses to the issue, and then we can't resolve it either because we've compiled and we've compiled and we've compiled. We need to keep our points brief. So this is really important. We speak for ourselves and we keep our points brief. Number three, stop for a response. Pause and let the person that you're talking to actually respond to your brief point. Because if you keep talking and adding more things, then they have a response. They're trying to have self-control and not interrupt you. They have a response from your first point. But if then you give point A, B, C, D, E, they're not even listening to those anymore because they're trying to remember their response from point A. So stop, pause for station identification. Pause for a response. Let them respond to the point that you've made. And you made it short. You kept it short. All right, number four. When we're having this conversation, if the other person is speaking to you and they've paused for station identification, then the person who's been listening needs to paraphrase what they've heard. Paraphrase what you heard. So don't just parrot, don't just speak back all the words. You need to think about it, paraphrase it in your own words so that you're showing, this is what I understand that you're saying, okay? Because if we just parrot and we just repeat back the exact words, we might not truly understand what they meant by it. But if we paraphrase and put it in our own words, we're showing them what we're understanding, and then they can say, yes, that's what I mean, or no, I didn't mean it that way at all. This is what I'm trying to say. All right, now, number five, when you're listening to what the person's saying, focus on the points. Don't think about all the other issues, all the other things. Focus on the one point that is being brought up in front of you right now. And how can you respond to that one thing? Not behind the filter of all the other issues. You have to keep the main thing, and stay on point so that you can resolve this conflict. And if there are others, then you can move on to them after. But if you just compile, you won't resolve it. And so focus on the point that is being brought up to you. So here we have these 5 things. Speak for yourself, keep your points brief, stop for a response, pause for that station identification. Do you understand what I'm saying? Number 4, paraphrase what you hear. And number 5, focus on the points. Focus on the main thing right now, not the all, yeah, but last time, this, that. We can't do all of that. We have to deal with one thing at a time. So when we speak for ourselves, I know for myself, I don't want someone to assume I'm thinking something. I don't want someone to say, I saw you looking at me and giving me that dirty look, and I'm thinking, I wasn't even looking at you. I was staring off and thinking about something totally different. And so we can only speak for ourselves and be able to resolve this disagreement or this conflict. In all of it, remember, if your goal is to actually connect with that person because you want to have a friendship, a relationship, a classroom relationship, a business relationship, an actual friendship with that person, your goal is to connect. So your goal is not to divide your relationship more, but to say, I'm sorry that I did that, or I'm sorry that you felt that way. Let's resolve this. Let's work it out. So being very respectful, not interrupting, will help you to resolve this. So today I want to talk about some danger signs. It's like danger, danger, danger. This conversation is going all the wrong way. These are like when that flag is out, stop talking. I want to give you some danger signs to be looking out for. Because regularly when my husband and I work with people and we counsel them with conflict resolution and how to talk through things before there's a massive blow up and everything's going in the wrong way. And so there's danger signs to be looking for. The first danger sign is escalation. Here's my little thing for you. Escalation. Escalation occurs when participants in conflict, so we're having a disagreement, we're having a conflict, respond back and forth negatively to one another, continuing to up the ante so that the conditions get worse. They're often negative comments that spiral into increasing anger and frustration. So if it's, well, you did this, and then you did this, and it's just this escalation instead of, let's talk about this one thing. Let's stay calm. Let's stay respectful. Let's talk about one thing. So if you notice you're getting more and more stressed instead of hearing each other, that's the first red flag. Stop, take a breather, pause. Escalation is the first one. So if you notice that warning sign is happening, that the conversation is escalating, I would recommend, let's pause, let's take a breather, let's try again. The second danger sign is invalidation. And this is when someone kind of puts you down. Well, I'm the logical thinker here and you're not making any sense. If there's like an insult in there where you feel like your feelings aren't valid, what you experienced isn't valid. I know as a girl, when I was young, people would say, well, it's just because you're a girl, or they would ask excuse if this isn't appropriate, but if it was because of my cycle, or I'm just being catty, and things like that to invalidate my experience and what I'm going through. And that kind of thing is sending your conflict in the wrong direction. Instead of resolving of, I'm sorry that you feel that way, let's resolve this. So if you feel in your conversation that you're being invalidated, that your feeling doesn't matter, your experience doesn't matter, or if you're doing that to someone else, you're like, well, you don't make any sense, so I'm not going to listen to you, or you come from over there, and so your opinion doesn't matter. Any of those things, that's a major red flag that we are not going to be able to resolve this, that it's then just going to escalate. So when we're having these discussions, we want to make sure that we're not making someone feel like their experience doesn't matter, like their feelings don't matter, because these things do matter. We don't rank everything on our feelings, but how I felt in a situation does matter so that I can get what I need to move out of that. So we don't want to invalidate someone. The third one, we have escalation and validation, is withdrawal. Now, this is when someone either just starts, fine, you're right, and they don't want to have that conversation. So they just withdraw from the conversation, or maybe you find yourself agreeing just to make the argument stop. You know 100% that they're wrong, but you're just like, you know what, you're right, I was wrong, I'm sorry. And you withdraw from the conversation. You even agree with what they're saying just to make it stop. The problem with that is that the conflict is not actually resolved. It's still there, it will still fester, and as soon as there's another problem, it will be even bigger. And so if you notice that you're having a conversation and the person you're talking with is starting to withdraw, that's a temperature gauge for yourself that you need to put yourself in check and say, maybe I'm making them feel a certain way and I need to calm down. But if you're feeling like you need to withdraw, then again, you first say, is this relationship worth saving? Or am I just withdrawing because I just want it to be over? If you truly want your relationship to be tight, to matter, to last, then it's important that we not withdraw, but we just keep all the self-control. We keep the love. We keep the purpose of this needs to be resolved so it doesn't come back to bite us later. The next one is negative. Where are we? All right, negative. So a negative interpretation. So some people, you might have noticed, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they see everything through a filter that's negative. You know, if you say, you look so beautiful today, they take that phrase and say, does that mean I don't look beautiful all the other days? They see everything through a negative filter. You can try to give them a compliment and they will twist it around. That is a red flag that is going to be a danger sign in your communication. If all they're going to see is through the negative filter. And so that takes a lot of work. One, on our own life, that we're like, I need to try and believe the best. I need to try and see where their heart is, even though they're delivering it in all the wrong ways. What is their heart here? They want to build this relationship. They want to resolve this conflict. Try to look past all of the pain and see the heart and say, okay, I know their heart is good, but I could say, when you say that, it makes me feel this way, but I don't think you mean that. And so give them the benefit of the doubt to rephrase and say, you know, I wasn't trying to do this in a negative way. And so we need to keep our hearts in a place that we're not seeing everything through a negative filter. We have to keep our hearts pure. But then on the reverse side, that if someone's doing that to us, no matter what you say, they're going to take it in a negative way. Number one, you ask yourself, is this relationship worth working for? And if it is, then try to rephrase and say, I'm sorry that it came across that way, but that's not what I meant at all. My heart is to connect. My heart is to be good friends. My heart is to make this work. So this is what I'm trying. And just to work on it, but understand these warnings of, if the conversation is escalating, take a break. Say, let's talk about this again, you know, just in an hour. I need to cool down. I need to go for a walk and just get with Jesus so I can talk about this in a peaceful way. Invalidation. You don't want to tell people that it doesn't matter, but you also don't want people saying that to you. Withdraw. Are people withdrawing from you from the conversation? Then that's a little check of, maybe I'm being too forceful and I'm not approachable. But on the flip side, if you feel you have to withdraw, you need to think about that. Is this relationship healthy? Is it worth connecting? Or do I need some boundaries here? And negative interpretation. Let's try to think the best of those that we love and try to connect with, even if they say something in the wrong way. Just take the time and ask them to clarify what they mean by that, because our relationships matter. Our friendships, our relationships with our parents, our relationships with our kids, our community matters. And so to learn how to resolve these conflicts and move forward and have a solid relationship is really going to help us. All right. Are there any questions or comments?
Pastor Liz, I have a question. In regards to, can you put the sign back up again, the list, just one moment. In regards to withdraw, like if you need a moment to be able to talk to Jesus, I just need a moment to be able to get these feelings under control, come down a little bit.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes when I've taken that approach and just say, well, I don't want to talk about this right now. Can we just meet another time? Then someone else is looking at it again in a negative way. Like they really don't want to allow you the opportunity to think about what's going on here.
Right.
Think about how you want to deal with this situation. But they just want to keep you just in that moment and smother you with a whole bunch of feelings that you just don't want to be wrapped up in.
Right.
How do you gracefully bow out of situations like that? Do you have any
tips? So being able to verbalize and communicate, we need to pause, and we still need to talk about it. We need to resolve this, but I just need a little bit of space. Like I know when I was first married, there were some days and we were trying to, work this out. I would say to my husband, I just need to go get with Jesus. We will come back and talk. And so it's important that you communicate. I still want to talk about it, but I just need a timeout. I need a timeout. Let's talk about this in an hour, or let's talk about it after dinner, or let's just talk about it tomorrow. I'm tired and I can't think straight. So that's different from withdrawing. Withdrawing is when you're just going to say yes to what they're saying so that they stop arguing. And so if that person is not willing to respect you and give you a little bit of space, that's a huge red flag. And that's when, to be able to have that boundary, to speak the truth. I love you, or I care about you. You are an important person in my life, but I just need a little bit of time to get everything under control so I can talk about this clearly. I'm not able to express myself clearly right now because I'm too overwhelmed by this, but we will talk about this, and always set a time. Like, we will talk about this later today. We will talk about this tomorrow morning. Set a specific time, and within the next couple of days. Like, don't let it go way down the road, but be intentional of, yes, I want to talk about this. I just need a little bit of space to collect my thoughts. And if they're not willing to give you that, that is such a huge red flag that it's like, that's on you. I know what I need to be healthy. And you have to just be able to walk away. Because when people feel like they can't even get out of a situation and they're just going to be berated, that's a form of abuse. And that is not a healthy relationship. We don't want that for our students. We don't want that in our marriages. We don't want that with coworkers. That is not okay. And so if someone's not giving you that space respectfully, that's when you just need to say, I just need to set this boundary. And if you want to talk, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And then just be willing to walk away from it.
Dr. Liz, I have a question. Dr. Liz. This is really great. And it might be for another day, but what if the relationship is with an authority figure, like a boss or a teacher or a parent, where you don't have the equal kind of stance, to be able to defend yourself or whatnot necessarily. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah. So of course, if it's a teacher, if it's a boss, you have to keep your emotions in check and not say something that's going to come back to bite you afterwards. And to remember that you are respectful, not because they deserve it, but because you're a respectful person. So you choose to conduct yourself in a respectful way because you're a respectful person. And if a teacher is insulting you and berating you, that is never appropriate. That is never appropriate for someone in authority to treat a student like that. And that's when that's done, you need to go to your parents. Your parents should always know that a teacher has done that to you. But then I would encourage you I know it takes a lot of courage, but to go to the guidance counselor at your school or to go to your principal and say, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to cause a problem, but this happened to me and I do not feel safe in that environment. And I met with a student recently who is of Chinese descent, and she was experiencing some major racism in her classroom. And she didn't want to go to school. She didn't feel safe. She felt because of the coronavirus that everybody was looking at her in the wrong way. And she was just feeling so, and her teacher was even saying stuff in front of the whole class. And so I talked with her. I'm like, well, I'll come with you if you like. We can go talk to your guidance counselor. We can go talk to your principal. And she did not want to because she was afraid of the ramifications. And so in those situations, there are people that will come alongside of you and be your battle buddy. They'll come with you to talk to a guidance counselor or a principal. And if it's a job situation, there are people who will respectfully come alongside of you and help you, because nobody should be working under that or trying. You can't learn in a classroom when you feel the teacher is against you. And so that's why, like, for all of you students, we're here and your mentors are here. If any of you have that experience, we'll find someone to come along with you, or we'll reach out on your behalf to help you in those things, because none of our students should be experiencing that.